Everybody, this is Grace. In this video, I'm going to talk about people who now treat adults like they're children. Now, everybody in this would be an adult. And I should say first that this is not any kind of counseling or advice, anything along that line. It's just my opinion, and I could be wrong. Okay. But now, we're talking about adults, but people who treat adults as if they're children. Or teenagers maybe, but they treat them much younger than they are. It's called infantilization. Okay. In this, I'm talking about what you do online. Now, it can be anything from somebody monitoring you, how much time you spent. Remember, adults, how much time you spend online, what you do online, what you view online, or they might even have you monitored. Some kind of program that you're not aware of. They monitor what you're doing. Okay, and it's not something you agree with. Maybe once you find out if they're doing it behind your back, or they're just telling you. And now, we all know there are some people who have problems, like an addiction to the internet, or they just spend too much time, that they have problems with their work or whatever. And we know that. We're not talking about that. I'm not talking about that extreme. I'm talking about just your average user. Now, what's an average user? Find a professional article somewhere and find out. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not going to say I do. Now, I'm going to try to take some of them one by one and how I view it. Like I said, this is not counseling advice, none of that kind of stuff. Just my opinion. And one of them is that people like to say it doesn't have to be somebody in your life face to face. It can also be somebody who's online. Now, I'm going to give an example of when, sometimes they do need to be monitored. And that is, say, if you're on some kind of a discussion board or group or something like that, where people from around the world, they just add their opinions and stuff, or even memes and whatever, videos, they add to that. And there is somebody who abuses that, who's they seem to think that they're only their opinion, or only what their likes or dislikes, whatever they want, should be there. So they just flood it with a lot of whatevers, like memes, the kind that look like, I call them, they look like posters or bulletin boards, and they post a whole bunch of that, so nobody else, what they're saying, what they're thinking, their opinions, they don't get seen. And some people, like administrators of that board or the group or whatever, will say, no, you can't abuse it. You'll get, if you continue to abuse it, they're going to block you, kick you out of the group or off the board, whatever. Now, some people go too far. Like I said, we're not going to talk, that's not what I'm focused on. I'm focused on your average person, though. But we all know there are extremes. Your average person. Okay, so you have your average person, and somebody online decides to tell that person that they're doing too much, and it's not the administrator or the moderator or the whatever, the person that runs it, owns it, created it, whatever. And it's not them; it's just another user. And they treat the person like they're a child in it, saying, you should do this and you should do that, giving them advice, giving them like counseling practically, and treating them like a child, infantilizing them. We all know there are people like that. They tell you how often you can, how often you can post, how often you can do whatever. That it's none of their business. But they think that they are that. They think that they are the ones who tell people what they can and cannot do. Now, there is sometimes also, we all know that, I'm not talking about whatever, if you're on a group right now and somebody, it's been shared, I'm not talking about that group, but we all know that there are sometimes admins and administrators on different groups or whatever, and, they have that kind of, give them a little power, and it goes to their head, and they think they are, dictators practically. So yeah, we know that. There are also people who tell you how you should do what you do. People online telling you, like me making videos. Some people say I shouldn't make videos because I'm driving. But it's just like I'm talking to somebody sitting next to me, and I really want to question them. Do you keep yourself silent the whole time? I'm not looking over at anybody. I mean, the camera is attached to the dashboard on a mount, and it's like having a front view mirror, okay? And I'm not looking at it. So, yeah. But there are people who think they're going to tell you how you can do things, whether it's online or not. Okay, the other ones I think I made pretty much simple. Somebody, say you're an adult and you're living, maybe you're taking care of your parent or parents, or you're married, the person who you're married to, anybody, that you're living with or that sees you online. I'm not talking about your boss, okay? Somebody who should have a boss is somebody who should tell you, hey, you can't do that at work, but somebody who shouldn't be, but they do. Okay, I think I've made that kind of clear. It can be any of those. And you're an adult, that's infantilization. Okay, where was I? But no, these are people who want to make your entertainment, say you use it for entertainment or whatever you use it for, they want to make it miserable for you because it's not about them. Now, someone just called that narcissistic, that it has to be about them or you can't do it. And, sorry, there was somebody coming up. And so they make it miserable. And that way, some people just enjoy making whatever you do, whatever a person does, miserable. They get enjoyment from making it miserable. What you find enjoyable. Yeah. People who, it's not their role to do this. Say you make posts or blogs or whatever it is, videos like this, and there's somebody out there who has that know-it-all kind of attitude. Now, maybe the person is very educated in that field, but I think many people know that people have differences in how they do it. Think about your job. You might do it one certain way, but the person sitting next to you does it a totally different way, and you both are pretty much equal on the production or outcome or whatever. So it's just a differences in personal choice. And sometimes people have a difference in view on things like what kind of, say, counseling, what kind of therapy a person should use for this patient. I mean, it's not a patient, it's a client. What they should use, or doctors with their actual patients, what technique they should use, or surgeons, or whatever, what kind of surgery. People are going to differ. And but some people think that if yours differs, then therefore it's wrong. Okay, no, that's not necessarily the case. It can be, but it's not necessarily the case. So what they do is they will pounce on you. Some of these people, and this is not a one-size-fits-all in any of this, but some people, like kind of narcissistic type, know-it-all, they will put you down so much that maybe people respond in different ways. Some people tell them off, some people point it out, some people get a gang, up against them and say, hey, look, we're tired of you doing this, or kick you off, get you kicked off, whatever. But, not you, but the person who's doing that, who's ganging up and bullying, and then, might possibly even be cyber stalking. People have different reactions to it, and some might not. Some might simply stop doing what they're doing because it's too much harassment against them. It makes them feel too bad. Somebody's constantly telling them no. Now, people who are like psychologists or whatever they do, counselors and so forth, they should know better than to do that to somebody. I mean, you can have a professional kind of critique, their work or something, but to constantly do it on a constant basis, that reaches, to me, in my opinion, harassment. Yeah, and if it's online, it can be considered cyberbullying. Yeah, but yeah, there's some people who, they feel like they're know-it-all, and like I said, say the person is a professor. Okay, but I've taught at both college and university, and one of the things that I know, and I don't want to be Socratic and say the more you know, the more you you realize you don't know enough. You need to know more. But I was a career student too, and yeah, I have lots of training. And the one thing I know is that people differ, and what I say somebody isn't always going to be right to somebody else. Okay, but some people, they don't see it that way. They refuse to see it that way. Like I said, it can be a professor who's very close-minded, that their way is the only way, because they're so used to grading and papers, exams is what it is, and stuff like that. And so they say only their way, their textbook. This is what it says in the textbook. It's in the textbook they're reading from. It doesn't mean that it's what everybody's textbook says. So, I just recently found two scholarly journal articles that totally disagree with one another, and that's good. That's actually good, because you need people who might have this kind of agenda or biases or agendas, and then somebody has total opposite, and they test it to reduce that, and to reduce what effect their own agendas or biases have on the research itself, and then another party, an independent party, to see. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, some people might have this show up on their research, and some might have that, and then it goes from there until there is a consensus somewhat. Okay, now that shows itself. It might not be one size does not. I mean, it might be that one size doesn't fit all. Okay.